Hey there. How are you doing today? Good. I'm glad to hear that. Your aura's looking much, much better from the last time that I've seen you. Yeah, of course I remember you. Now, I'm not really good with names, but faces and for sure energies. And you had some pretty goofy energy the last time I saw you. I'm glad you're feeling a lot better though. So what brings you in here today? Okay. A palm reading. Okay. I love doing those. So when I do palm readings here, I like to do just a basic, very bare bones reading. I like to just more gather some information about yourself, and I like to help you see your hidden strengths and some things to watch out for in the future. Yeah, I don't like to tell the future so much. I kind of like to save that for the weatherman. Yeah, I don't really want to try to predict your future. I want to just give you the tools for you to make your own future. So what I do here is I will look at your hand shape, which I can classify by one of the 4 elements: earth, air, water, or fire. And then from there, I look at your 4 major lines on your palm, and that would be your heart line, your head line, your lifeline, and your fate line. Now, not everybody has a fate line, but even if you don't, we can still tell a little bit here and there from your other lines and how they work together. Now, if you come back for another reading, I may go more in depth. I like to just give you the very basic. Most people get the information that they need from just a very straightforward palm reading. So if you decide that you'd like to come back for another one, then I can more look into the finger shapes or the quality and shape of your fingernails, and some people can even divine a few personality traits from how your thumb bends to your finger. I don't do that, but it's possible. There's a lot of things you can tell from the hand. All right. Well, if you'd like to get started, then before I begin, I want to light a candle for your protection and for mine. You mind if I do that? Okay. Now, I've got some matches here. And I'm just going to pull them out of the box. Pull one out. Replace the box. And light it. Okay. I have my lit candle here. And I'm just going to set this on the table behind me. And we will begin. Okay. Now, if you don't mind, I would like you to show me your hand. Okay. Oh, your skin's a little dry, huh? Well, I suppose for it being January, that's kind of a given. Alright. It looks like your hand, it's got a definite square shape to it. And your fingers, okay. Yeah, they're a little shorter than your palm. So you would be an earth hand. Now, an earth hand is generally classified as a practical or realistic person. Now, while they are those positive qualities, there are some maybe negative qualities associated with that. So you could be a little stubborn at times and a little bit impatient, but not nearly as much as, say, a fire hand. Now, the other hand shapes you could have been, you could have been an air hand, which would consist of a square palm and long fingers. And they really love mental challenges and puzzles. They're very logical people, very intuitive people. However, at the same time, they are really, really big warriors. They get in their head a lot. You could have also been a water hand, which would have been a rectangular palm with long fingers. And water people are emotional, but that's not necessarily bad. So when you're happy, you're ecstatic. But when you're depressed, you're despondent. You have very intense feelings, but that also means you have very positive feelings and experiences at the same time. They're also very creative, very sensitive types. So this is usually the hand that is associated with artists and writers. Now, at the same time, that also means they are easily stressed and take on a lot. You could have also been a fire hand. Now, I possess this kind of hand, and it is pretty obvious when I look at my traits and I look at myself that it lines up very, very nicely. Fire hands have rectangular palms and short fingers. They tend to be outgoing people, rather extroverted. They are also extremely passionate about the things that they love and the things that they do. They put their heart and soul into things. They also tend to be very fickle and extremely impatient. And of course, they usually have a pretty fiery temper. Now, just because you have one hand or another does not limit you to those qualities. So, for example, while I have a fire hand, I'm not really extroverted. However, I'm more like an earth hand in that I am very practical and very stubborn. And usually the element that your hand is associated with, you tend to be drawn to those kind of elements. So, for example, I love my plants and I love the earth and nature. And I also do really like fire, I will be honest. But just because you are one element or another does not limit you to those qualities or abilities. That just kind of gives you a general idea of a couple of personality traits you may possess. Now, I want to go ahead and look at the lines in your palm. So what I'm going to start out with is I'm just going to look at them real quick and kind of note how long or how deep they are, if they're chained at all, if they have any branches, any forks, any little crisscrosses. I kind of get a little bit more in depth in this. So if you won't mind, I'll just take a look real quick. All right. going to start with your heart line. So it looks like you have a pretty deep heart line, so it makes it easy to kind of see where it's going. And, well, actually, all of your lines are pretty deep. I mean, you have a few little faint ones that kind of intersect into the other ones, but I'm not really paying so much attention to those as I am the main lines. So your heart line will deal with love and your emotions and your emotional capability. So it looks like your heart line starts between your index and middle finger. This would mean that you are prone to falling in love easily. Yeah, I think a lot of people do, so you'll see many heart lines start between the index and middle fingers. Alright, and it's got a very clear curve to it. This would mean that you freely express your love and emotion. So you're not afraid to show emotion, and you're very affectionate. Also looks like it's kind of broken and put back together, kind of like a chaining. So this would mean that you have a lot of emotional or romance-related traumas, past or future. So looks like there's quite a bit of them, so I imagine a bit of both, past and future. It also intersects with your lifeline, so that would be this line right here. Yeah, so that would mean that you're easily heartbroken, which kind of goes hand in hand with the emotional trauma. Alright, now moving on to your headline. This would be your thoughts and the way you think. So it looks like a very long line. So this would make you a responsive, considerate person. You're very considerate to others' thoughts and feelings. So that could be positive, could be negative. On the one hand, it means you are very thoughtful about other people, but that also might mean that you put too much stock into other people's criticisms. You're also kind of prone to overthinking, which I think a lot of people, especially with a very strong headline, they are very prone to overthinking. It looks like a very straight line, so this would make you an analytical or practical person, and you're very dedicated to the work that you do, whether it be a hobby or your job, or even just given simple tasks, you are very dedicated to them. Also looks like it is joined with the lifeline as well. This would make you a very flexible person, but once you have made a decision, you stand firm with it. So you're easy to work with, but once you've made up your mind, you will not budge. And it looks like it kind of turns up at the end. So this would make you an adaptable, social, and charismatic person. Yeah, a lot of these are kind of lining up, aren't they? Alright, and now your lifeline. This does not tell how long you will live. That's a very irresponsible kind of goal, I think people just use to draw people in. But this is more about your vitality or your health and your lifestyle, kind of how you respond to life. So this is a really long and deep line as well. This makes you a very resilient person, and you're very resistant to diseases. You have a good immune system. So this would make you prone to a long life. That doesn't necessarily mean you'll live to be 110, but I imagine you will easily go into your 80s or even 90s. And it looks like it is a very clear semicircle, which I don't see too often. But this means you are a strong and very enthusiastic person. You're enthusiastic about everything you do, especially life. You're very happy and enthusiastic about life. It does kind of have a broken bit near the end of it. Broken bits usually mean serious bouts of illness, but it seems to me that it overlaps and restarts really quickly, which means you'll probably recover from a serious illness very quickly. All right, and last but not least, your fate line. So not everybody has a fate line, as I said before, and it comes in a lot of different shapes. So for the most part, it's usually told to be a straight up and down line, but sometimes it'll start from the bottom of the palm. Sometimes it'll only start from the top. Sometimes it's joined with other lines. It's a very sneaky little line. But the fate line is supposed to kind of give you a little bit about your career choices and sort of a destiny thing, mostly how much your life is bound by things you can't control, i.e. fate. So this is also a very deep, clean line. So that means that you'll probably excel in starting your own business or kind of doing your own thing, and you'll be successful in whatever career you choose, whether it be on your own or whether it be in a company. It does start below the middle finger, which would be the Mount of Saturn. If you ever come back and do another palm reading with me, then I'll get into all the mounts. But the Mount of Saturn is right below your middle finger. So this would mean that you will be successful even if you have almost nothing to start with. So, for example, if you did start your own business, you could pretty much run and succeed with just an idea. It does kind of break and start, which is very normal. That would mean a change in a job or a career. I see about halfway through the line, it kind of breaks and starts for the last time. So that may be where you find that will be your last job or your last career, and maybe that's the one that you're happiest with. All right, I think our time is done then. Do you think I did a good job on that? Yeah, sounds just like you. Good, I'm very glad to hear that. Well, do not hesitate to stop by or call me if you need anything. I hope to see you around sometime again soon. All right? Thank you very much for stopping in. I hope you have a wonderful night, sweetheart. Thanks.